Okay. I'm a Hazelton from the 403 to the HAZ, Mr. Nelson. Good morning, how are you? I'm just gonna tuck in here, tuck and roll, a little tuck and roll. Okay, glasses. Sure, it's Monday morning. Let's put on some glasses just to make me look smarter than I am. Okay, what's up? So, we are talking about fractions right now. In the last video, we talked about adding and subtracting using lowest common denominator. Denominator being the number on the bottom, and the lowest common being the number that the least common multiple. So between 8 and 4, 4 goes into 8, so 8 would be the least common multiple there. 7 and 3 both go into 21, and that's the smallest number they both go into. So those are lowest common denominators. But luckily for multiplication of fractions, this is probably the easiest thing we can do with fractions because it's very straightforward. So let's say I have a question that says, what is 1/2 times 1/4? Okay, and essentially this is just saying, what is 1/2 of a quarter? This multiplication just means of. What is 1/2 of a quarter? So if I have a quarter, 1/4, so this, we'll say this quadrant right here, 1/4, what is 1/2 of that? Well, to do that half of that, I have to turn everything into a half. I have to take a half of everything in this pie, split everything into 2, and then I can see that 1/2 of a quarter works out to be 1 out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 1/2 of a quarter is 1/8. And it's quite easy to determine the answer to this because all we have to do is multiply the numbers in the numerator. So 1 times 1 becomes 1, and then multiply the numbers in the denominator. So 2 times 4 is equal to 8. That's it. That is multiplication. The easiest thing we can do with fractions, as far as I'm concerned. So what if I had 2/3 divided by a quarter? Well, I just did a quarter, so let's say divided by 1/2. Okay? Well, I could draw my pie. Draw my pie, and I've got 2/3, which is the peace sign, so I've got that, and I've got that. 2/3, and now I'm going to half everything. So that goes in half, that goes in half, and that goes in half. Wait. 2/3 of a half. Oh, I did this wrong. Well, we could go either way. Either way would work in this case. So in the previous one I did 1/2 of a quarter, and now I'm doing 2/3 in halves. And in both cases, it'll work out the same. So in this case, when I do thirds into halves, I'm going to have, well, I split this third into a half, this third into a half, and this third into a half. And I have now 1, 2, 3, 4 out of 6. Or sorry, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, and I split them into halves. Why am I dividing? Oh, that's because, why did I put a division? That's my problem there. There we go. So, 2/3, I wrote this one wrong. My apologies, I made a mistake. It's first thing in the morning here. So, 2/3. What is 2/3 of a half? Okay, so 2/3 of a half. So in order to figure out what 2/3 of a half is, well, I'm going to have to turn my half into thirds. So there's that, and I'm going to do that to the other side as well. And then if I'm taking 2, that's going to work out to 1, 2 out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then if I were to do the straight multiplication, 2 times 1 is 2, 3 times 2 is 6, and I get 2/6. So I'm taking 2/3 of a half. And I could do it the other way too. I could do 1/2 of 2/3, because I can rewrite this multiplication the other way. So 1/2 of 2/3 which means, so my 2/3 are right here. And if I take half, half of this, half of 2/3 is going to be just 1/3. And I know that 2/6 is the same as 1/3. So in this case, it works out the same either way. And when I got the answer of 2/6 by multiplication, 2 times 1 is that. So when I get 2/6, I can actually simplify this fraction further if I recognize, if I ask, well, can I divide 2 and 6 by any numbers? Well, yes, I can divide 2 by 2, which gives 1, and then whatever I do to the top, I do to the bottom. 6 divided by 2 is 3. So I get 1/3. Let's do a couple more examples here, because even I confused myself there for a second. So let's try 5/6 times 1/3. Okay? So in this case, I want 5/6 of 1/3. So I'm going to draw my third. And I want 5/6 out of it. So I'm going to have to turn my third. I'm going to split it into 6 slices, as I am going to do with the rest of the pie too. Each slice I'm going to split into 6. 6. 4, 5, 6. Okay? Now I want 5/6 of my third. So 5, 2, 4, 5. Now I have 5, but I split my each of my thirds into 6. So 3 times 6 is 18. So I'm actually going to have 5 slices out of 18. And if I were to do the straight multiplication, I would get 5 times 1 is 5, 6 times 3 is 18. And I'm done. Now I can ask, can I divide 5 and 18 by any common numbers? And the answer is no. 5 is already prime, unless 18 is divisible by 5. So this is our final answer. And if we were to look at it the other way, 5/6 divided into thirds. So I could look at it that way. I'm going to divide 5/6 into thirds. So there's a pie divided into very uneven thirds, or 6s. Anyways, let's imagine those are even. And so if I have 5 of them, so I got 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So, and I'm going to divide those into thirds. I'm going to take a third out of my 5 chunks. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I'm going to take a third of those. Now in this case, a third probably looks like this, and I would have to recognize that I can split this up into 18. So in this case, it doesn't work out as cleanly, so I will just stick to my multiplication. Long story short, if you just multiply the numerators and you just multiply the denominators, you will always get the right answer. Don't overthink it. Even I have trouble visualizing, especially when we get to division, visualizing what's happening with division, as do, I would say, 99.99% of people out there. So all we need to know with multiplying with fractions is we multiply the numerator, the numbers on top, and we multiply the denominators. Okay? There we go. Funny how one of the most basic mathematical principles can actually still be this much trouble in a visual way. All right.